My sister and I unlocked the selection system. The system asked, 1 billion or your biological mother, which will you choose? Without hesitation, my sister chose the 1 billion, and she married into the wealthy Brown family, receiving a 1 billion dowry. Meanwhile, I lived an ordinary life with our remarried mother. Who would have thought that less than 3 years after my sister married into the Brown family, they went bankrupt? Her husband fled abroad with all the money, leaving her alone to take the blame and go to prison. After she was released from prison, the first thing she did was come to kill me. When I opened my eyes again, we were both back on the day we had to make our choice. This time, she was the first to choose our birth mother. I laughed. Finally someone was going to brave that den of wolves for me. I choose mom. When my twin sister Nicole said those words, her face was filled with undisguised triumph. Exactly like the expression she wore in our past life after making her choice. Last time, she chose the billion, only to meet such a miserable end. It seems this time, she's utterly confident in her decision. I had no choice but to accept the Brown family's 1 billion dowry and marry the son of the country's richest man, Tucker Brown. On our wedding day, the scene was nothing short of sensational. The elite from every field in the country attended our wedding, except for the groom. This was exactly how Nicole married him in her past life. It's almost laughable. Tucker Brown is incredibly childish. He refused to attend the wedding just to prove his unwavering devotion to his white moonlight. I knew deep down that whether it was marrying my sister in his past life or marrying me this time, it was all because his family was pressuring him to settle down. And we bore an uncanny resemblance to his unattainable love, in his words, barely passable, with the groom absent. The wedding became unbearably awkward. Standing alone beside the officiant, I caught a glimpse of Nicole in the crowd, her face full of mockery. Last time she got married and faced this situation, she was so frantic and angry that she burst into tears on the spot, turning an already awkward scene into an even more cringeworthy spectacle. This time she must be determined to come and watch me make a fool of myself. My younger sister has always been like this since childhood. She couldn't stand seeing me do better than her. When we were kids, she was very playful, while I studied hard, excelled academically, and was always praised by the school. Unable to bear it, she teamed up with the school bullies to pick on me. In a way, I should thank her for being like this all along. It's honed me to remain unfazed by praise or humiliation, without a trace of resentment. I smiled through every single step of the ceremony arranged by the host. When I went down to toast, several wealthy wives couldn't stop praising me, saying I carried myself with grace and composure, handling such a situation with ease. They all thought I was suffering immense grievances, forced to put on a brave face while swallowing my pain, but what they didn't know was that I genuinely didn't care. It's just a wedding. What does it matter if the groom shows up or not? As long as the 1 billion hits my account, that's all that matters. After all, I didn't marry for that foolish man. On the wedding night, as soon as we got home, my mother-in-law flew into a rage at Tucker Brown, calling him a worthless disappointment who couldn't see the bigger picture, nearly causing the Brown family to lose face. Do you have any idea that if it weren't for Hannah holding up the scene today, our family would have become the laughingstock of everyone? Facing the accusations from his own mother, Tucker Brown looked full of resentment. His mother-in-law scolded him in frustration. I don't know what you have to be dissatisfied with when you can marry a girl like Hannah. Do you really think Hannah married above her station by choosing you? To be honest, it's our family that married above our station. Do you even realize that Hannah is... Enough, stop talking. Tucker Brown interrupted the conversation. I don't care who she is. With that, he got up from the sofa, took a few quick steps toward me, and stared straight at me, his eyes devoid of any warmth. You're just a stand-in, and a stand-in should know their place. Remember, I'll never touch you, so don't even think about trying anything with me. Good grief, the sheer stupidity radiating from him was making me sick. If it weren't for my mother-in-law being present, I'd have told him to get the hell away from me. I have a zero-tolerance policy for idiots. I forced out a most insincere smile and said, that would be perfect. Nicole was even more impatient than I had thought. I had been married for less than a month, and she was already in a hurry to come and show off to me. To ensure I wouldn't refuse her, she even came up with an excellent excuse and had my mother relay it to me. Your sister has found a really good boyfriend. I'm worried she might be deceived. Could you help me check out what kind of guy he is? We met at a cafe. The location chosen by Nicole, we hadn't even exchanged a few words before she started boasting that this was her favorite spot. With that, she naturally linked arms with David, smiling sweetly. David spoils me so much. knowing I love this place. He immediately got us an annual membership here. I knew it. With Nicole's measly $2,800 monthly salary, there's no way she could afford this high-end coffee shop. Turns out she's just showing off with someone else's money. I remained composed and smiled politely. Then I must thank Mr. Lin for his continued patronage of our shop. That's right, this cafe is my business. After all, with $1 billion fortune in my hands, it would be a waste to just let it sit in the bank earning interest. It's only natural for me to invest some of it. Nicole was originally sipping her coffee, trying to look artsy, but upon hearing this, she immediately set her cup down on the table. Even if you have money, don't invest recklessly. Be careful not to go bankrupt. Perhaps sensing David's puzzled look, she picked up her cup again, took a sip, and said slowly, I've come to realize that money isn't important at all. What truly matters is whether the people around you genuinely care. Once she started on this topic, she couldn't stop, praising David endlessly. How accomplished he was at such a young age. How he catered to her every whim. As I looked at Nicole, I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. What on earth has clouded my sister's judgment? Even after being reborn, she still hasn't wised up. Money isn't as important as a man's sincerity. What kind of nonsense is she spouting? Besides, what kind of person this David really is? How could I not know? In my past life, I also had a relationship with David. We met at a gathering at Bob's house. At that time, he was Bob's prized student, while my mother was discussing marriage with Bob. David was handsome and accomplished, already a top expert in the industry at just 30 years old. Moreover, he treated me exceptionally well. With someone like him pursuing me so passionately, I really had no reason to refuse. But my mom, after hearing Bob's advice, firmly opposed the marriage, and David actually suggested we get on the bus first and buy the ticket later. I decisively refused. Who knew that my refusal would reveal his true colors? He started spreading malicious rumors about me everywhere, which caused me great distress. It took me a long time to finally put the matter to rest. Later, I found out that he was in such a hurry to marry me because his so-called industry expert status was completely fabricated. In reality, he had long been unable to keep his job at the company and was hoping to leverage Bob's position as a university professor to secure a role at the university. Could a man like this have genuine feelings? Even if he did, they'd be nothing more than trash. But his dirty little secrets are nothing compared to Bob's filthy thoughts. While David was in the bathroom, I decided to give Nicole a warning. After all, she's my own sister, and I didn't want to see her fall into that scumbag's clutches. Don't waste your time on David. Neither Bob nor Mom would approve, I said, taking a sip of coffee before adding, to be precise. They wouldn't approve of you being with anyone. Stop talking nonsense. You're just jealous, aren't you? Your husband won't touch you, so you can't stand seeing David and me all lovey-dovey. Besides, Uncle Bob has always been very kind to me. If you didn't get along with him before, it's because your personality was unlikable. I scoffed. Oh, so you think Bob likes you a lot? Then I have nothing more to say. Good advice is wasted on those who court death. Compassion cannot save those who forsake themselves. I've been very busy lately, busy making money grow. Besides that coffee shop, I actually own several other properties. With money in hand, investing feels incredibly satisfying. It's finally fulfilling my long-held dream of being in business. I used to dream of saving enough money to open my own store. Back then, I tried almost every job imaginable. I've thoroughly explored every aspect of many products, from production to sales and after-sales service. But for a lowly wage earner, accumulating enough capital to start a business is no easy feat. I never managed to achieve that dream before I died, but looking back now, it was precisely these valuable experiences accumulated from grassroots work that allowed me to understand the market better than other investors, to understand customers, and most importantly, to understand employees. After nearly half a year, not only did my $1 billion not decrease, but I actually made quite a profit. However, I had no intention of telling anyone. One day, as I lay in bed, gleefully staring at my bank account balance, Tucker Brown suddenly barged into the bedroom, glaring at me with obvious displeasure. Woman, don't think pretending to be uninterested in me will get my attention. I looked up and gave him a glance reserved for idiots. Fucking moron, I said casually. If you've got nothing better to do, go find something to occupy yourself. Stop hovering around me. I'm busy counting money and don't have time for you. Tucker Brown, for some inexplicable reason, flew into a rage and started berating me. Money, 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 you're just like other women, only knowing how to spend. I scoffed inwardly. As for what the consequences of only knowing how to spend are, I probably understood far better than he did. After all, there was Nicole's cautionary tale. Back then, she was reckless and extravagant, squandering her $1 billion dowry in just over 2 years. It wasn't until the money ran out that she finally remembered to work on maintaining her marital relationship, but it was too late. By then, Tucker Brown was already hopelessly infatuated with his white moonlight. I was different from her. I never even considered trying to maintain this so-called marital bond that never truly existed. Why waste time on something so meaningless? Isn't focusing on making money much better? A month later, my mother-in-law and I boarded a plane bound for Country F. She was here for vacation, while I came partly to conduct market research for idols, and partly because I simply couldn't stand Tucker Brown anymore. He's been appearing in front of me more frequently lately, always putting on that domineering CEO act. Woman, no matter how cold you pretend to be, it's useless. I won't spare you a second glance. I don't know how to express my disdain for him. I genuinely look down on men who idle around all day with nothing to do, with a CEO like him. Can the company even stay afloat? Regarding this issue, Tucker Brown quickly demonstrated the answer through his actions. No, he couldn't. He completely lacks the most basic decision-making abilities that a leader should possess. During the more than half a month in Country F, my mother-in-law received daily calls about company matters, most of which were from Tucker Brown himself, a grown man nearly 30 years old. Yet he behaves like a child, needing to ask his mother's opinion on everything. He couldn't make a single decision, let alone handle the ever-changing business landscape. My mother-in-law had such a headache that she had to book an early return flight home. I came on this vacation to see if Tucker could manage company affairs independently without me. Now it seems I overestimated him. But you're much more mature than him. Watching you conduct research these days reminded me of when I was young, helping his father manage business affairs. I still stand by what I said back then. For the Brown family to marry a girl like you was truly reaching above their station. Looking at this earnest, kind-faced elder before me, I found it hard to connect her with the wicked mother-in-law Nicole had described. But in that moment, I understood. My mother-in-law wasn't targeting anyone in particular. She simply despised incompetence. If she could be so disdainful of her own good-for-nothing son, how much more would she loathe Nicole? That utterly useless daughter-in-law of hers. Coincidentally, we share common ground in our disdain for useless people. The first thing I did upon returning to my home country was establish an entertainment company and aggressively recruit trainees. I, Hannah, am determined to make it big in the entertainment industry. Not just survive, but thrive. When my mother-in-law found out, she fully supported my venture, injecting substantial funds and leveraging her connections to secure numerous exposure opportunities for my trainees. At first, I was a bit reluctant, not wanting to owe her such a big favor, but she said something that eased my concerns. Don't think I'm spoiling you. I'm speaking purely from a business perspective. I can't put all my eggs in one basket, especially not in that rickety basket called the Brown family business. With her help, my trainees quickly gained some recognition. Coincidentally, a show called Debut Trainees was in the works, and I signed them up, and I, one of the show's sponsors, sat on the judges' panel as the group formation manager. Trainees from various companies took turns showcasing their talents, but deep down, everyone knew these performances were merely supporting acts, designed to highlight the person about to take the stage next. Hello everyone, my name is Bella. The undisputed favorite to win the competition, Tucker Brown's long-cherished white moonlight. It must be said, Bella's face is indeed worth the hefty price. Utterly captivating, no wonder that fool Tucker Brown was so bewitched he lost his mind. But as stunning as she looks, her talent performance was equally disastrous. A rhythmless rap that made me nauseous just listening to it. Her image is excellent, but her professional skills still need refinement. I thought I had phrased it quite diplomatically, but I never expected Bella's team to be just as fake as she is. They're aggressively marketing her as the victim. Bella also deliberately or inadvertently brought up her past relationship with Tucker Brown, steering public opinion to paint me as a scheming woman who stole someone else's love and married into wealth by throwing myself at a rich man, after just one episode aired. The buzz around her and me overshadowed all the other trainees, exactly the outcome her team wanted. Now, the biggest question on everyone's mind is Tucker Brown's own stance on the matter. Everyone in the industry knows that the president of a publicly listed company would never personally respond to such gossipy news. However, they overestimated Tucker Brown's intelligence. I received his call. Just admit you were pretending to be indifferent to me, and I'll reluctantly help you out this time. Fucking idiot, I shouted the words I'd been holding back for so long and hung up immediately. Half an hour later, I saw the headline news. The president of the Brown family publicly sided with Bella and revealed their love token. Are you an idiot? Did a donkey kick your brain? I drove straight to Tucker Brown, slapped him hard across the face, and yelled angrily. He covered his reddened cheek, staring at me in shock. The last person who hit me was my mother. Woman, you're playing with fire. If you keep mixing personal and professional matters and blabbing everything, you're truly playing with fire. Do you really think Bella is any good? He smirked. Oh, woman, you're clearly jealous of Bella. As if you're worthy. I'm exhausted. Let it all burn. There's really no saving this. I thought I could give him a wake-up call to stay away from Bella and prevent my mother-in-law's efforts from going to waste. But now it seems pointless. With leadership like this, it'd be a miracle if the Brown family business doesn't go bankrupt. The Brown family's rival, the Shine Group, didn't miss this golden opportunity, capitalizing on the gossip about Tucker Brown and Bella. They heavily promoted the narrative that Tucker Brown had a chaotic personal life. They even dug up the fact that the so-called love token was actually a limited edition from a brand notorious for insulting the nation. In no time, Tucker Brown's reputation plummeted, and along with it, the stock prices of the Brown family's business took a nosedive. I glanced at the ever-increasing balance in my bank account and felt not a shred of panic. Let him go bankrupt. I'll keep making my money. We're not in each other's way. But in Nicole's eyes, that was clearly not the case. She was convinced that Tucker Brown and I were birds of a feather. So the moment she heard about the plummeting stock prices of the Brown family, she immediately called to mock me, even though David and I broke up. Uncle Bob treats me incredibly well, buying me all sorts of designer brands and supporting me unconditionally in everything I do, unlike you, who may have a wealthy husband, but he doesn't even spare you a second glance. Finally, she didn't forget to add, oh, sorry, I forgot. Your rich husband is about to go bankrupt too. I stayed silent and hung up the phone. Sometimes, watching a fool perform can be quite helpless. That's just how Bob is, spending money like water, especially on young girls. His pension, though not meager, couldn't withstand his spending habits. In my previous life, my mother worked multiple jobs every day, enduring great hardship. I tried persuading her to break up with Bob, but she insisted that finding a caring companion in old age wasn't easy. Seeing my efforts were futile, I resolved to earn more to support her. It was precisely for this reason that I resigned from my position as a college gymnastics instructor, seeking broader career opportunities. From that day onward, it was me who juggled multiple jobs simultaneously. What made it hardest for me to endure wasn't the pressure from work, but my mother's insatiable greed. She never felt sorry for me, she only complained that I didn't give enough. Gradually, I realized my mother was a hopeless romantic, completely willing to treat me like livestock for that wretched old man, Bob. So what now? This sister of mine is notoriously lazy and gluttonous. Expecting her to go out and earn money is absolutely impossible. So my mother has no choice but to tough it out on her own. With my mother's frail physique, how could she possibly endure their exploitation? Sure enough, just a few days later, I received a call from my mother. She sobbed uncontrollably on the phone, describing her situation in the most pitiful terms. I believe everything you say, but what does that have to do with me? I calmly said a word and hung up the phone. Being overly saintly never ends well. Remember to let go of the savior complex and respect others' fate. The competition in Debut or Bust has passed its halfway mark, with all contestants giving their all to secure a debut spot. Except for Bella. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I'd never believe that at this stage of the competition, someone could still perform the simplest routines so utterly poorly. Her movements were distorted, her voice off-key as she sang the final line. No one sees the sorrows and joys of the dancing girl. I endured the entire song, but finally couldn't take it anymore. No one sees my sorrows and joys either. The entire studio suddenly fell silent. Blood rushed to my head as I spoke sharply and sternly. If you had attended even a single gymnastics class, you couldn't have performed this piece with artistic gymnastics elements so poorly. Have you ever respected the audience? Have you ever respected rhythmic gymnastics? This is a desecration of the sport. As soon as I finished speaking, some fans behind me became quite displeased. What's wrong with this woman? Does she even understand gymnastics? Exactly, our Bella has been working so hard. This old hag is just jealous of Bella. Bella remained calm and smiled faintly. Sister is right, I'm indeed not very skilled in this area, but from what you said, it seems you know a lot about rhythmic gymnastics. Would you mind giving us a demonstration? As she spoke, she raised the performance ribbon in her hand. I understood. She was provoking me. Her smile was radiant and elegant now, but it didn't matter. She wouldn't be smiling for long. I took the ribbon from her hand and spun, leaped, and closed my eyes in one fluid, graceful motion. It's been a while since I practiced, so I'm a bit rusty. I smiled and handed the ribbon back to Bella. She was completely stunned at that moment, but what came next left her even more dumbfounded. That very afternoon, someone online dug up another identity of mine that I had never mentioned before, a former world champion in rhythmic gymnastics. These are just some past honors I've received, and I don't think they're worth mentioning. But the outside world's obsession with this identity of mine far exceeded my imagination. In less than half a day, news about me spread across the internet. Everyone marveled at my excellence and admired my humility even more. I always said, how could an ordinary person marry into the richest family? You've got to have some real skills to be worthy. What nonsense are you talking about? That's a world champion we're talking about. It's the Brown family who's reaching high here. Thanks to my status as a world champion, the reputation of the Brown family business has also rebounded. After a continuous decline for over a week, their stock prices finally showed an upward trend. This time, the Brown family narrowly escaped disaster. My mother-in-law, who had been on edge for days, could finally breathe a sigh of relief. I told you, marrying Hannah is like striking gold for the Brown family. You better know what's good for you, you brat. It was a long time before I found out that the person who first revealed my championship status online was actually hired by my mother-in-law. I asked her why she did it. She looked smug and said, my daughter-in-law is so outstanding, I couldn't let her be bullied by those little nobodies. While I was thriving and flourishing, Bella's life wasn't going so smoothly. After the dancer incident, her popularity plummeted. The company poured massive resources into her. But her abysmal professional skills rendered all those investments futile, leaving the company no choice but to shift their focus to promoting someone else. Just like that, Bella became the company's discarded pawn. No one knew where the malicious rumors originated, but public opinion began speculating that I would surely seize the opportunity to crush Bella completely to pave the way for my own trainees. Bella herself abandoned even the last shred of dignity, facing the cameras. She tearfully claimed she was under immense pressure, in poor condition, felt targeted, and might withdraw from the competition at any moment due to the unbearable stress. The trolls also seized the moment to insinuate that she was being suppressed by me. In reality, these were nothing more than the struggles of a cornered beast. The company had already abandoned her. This was an indisputable fact, no matter how much she flailed. She was only lining the pockets of marketing accounts with her own money. All I had to do was watch quietly. But I forgot, I still had Tucker Brown, that incompetent ally. This time, once again, he was the first to step forward and declare his stance. However, unlike last time, this time he firmly stood by my side. I rushed into his office, covered in dust, and seeing his expression of expecting praise, my anger flared up uncontrollably. Didn't I tell you last time to keep personal and professional matters separate? You really didn't remember a single word of it. Are you a pig brain? He was confused and furious, shouting helplessly, you woman, I'm protecting you, why aren't you satisfied? What exactly do you want me to do? My phone vibrated in my pocket. I picked it up and my vision darkened. The rival company had moved faster than I anticipated. As soon as I saw Tucker Brown's outrageous stance, I immediately contacted PR to minimize the fallout, but now it seems I was still a step too late. Tucker Brown's negative press has already flooded the internet. Tucker Brown choosing to speak up for Hannah at this moment, isn't that just pouring fuel on the fire? LOL, this rotten cucumber still trying to play the devoted lover card. For a time, all sorts of scandalous rumors about him were dug up, of course. I knew they were all fake, but who cares about that in the court of public opinion? For 3 whole days, the incident remained a hot topic. I was determined to let him clean up his own mess. He struggled for over a month without making any progress, and in the end, it was my mother-in-law who stepped in to settle things for him. At the family dinner that day, my mother-in-law, exhausted both physically and mentally, said, "I'm getting old and have long wanted to step back. This is the last time I'll help you. From now on, don't come to me with any business matters. Listen more to your wife. He's quite good at applying what he learns. Honey, do you have any suggestions for the company's future development?" I took a sip of red wine and looked at my mother-in-law. "Mom, if conditions permit, I suggest you have another child. When it rains, it pours. Lately, there hasn't been a single thing that hasn't given me a headache." Just as we resolved the mess Tucker Brown caused, news came that my mom was hospitalized due to illness. I had just arrived at the hospital room with Tucker Brown when my mom started scolding me. "You brat, you finally showed up. At least you have some conscience. Don't praise me too soon. We're actually here to get back the 500,000 Tucker Brown transferred to you." That idiot, trying to suck up to me, heard about my mom's hospitalization and immediately sent over 500,000 without a second thought. Luckily, he came to me right afterward to boast about it, or I might have lost 500,000 for nothing and remained completely in the dark. "Hannah, you're really too much. It's bad enough that you're not contributing any money yourself, but now you're even planning to take back the money your brother-in-law gave you." I gave them a cold look. Nicole had just returned from outside, carrying large and small bags, with Bob trailing behind her. From the looks of it, had the two of them gone out shopping? My mom worked herself sick just to support these two leeches, and yet they still had the leisure to go shopping. How dare they criticize me? I sneered coldly. "Oh, buying so many luxury items. You're not using the 500,000 my family lent you, are you? None of your business. The money was lent to me by my brother-in-law. What's it to you?" I teased. "Oh, your brother-in-law regrets it and wants it back." Nicole blinked her big eyes and looked at Tucker Brown. "Brother-in-law, is what she said true?" I remained expressionless and looked at Tucker Brown, who nodded obediently like a kitten being held in check, earning a smile from me in return. I then turned to Nicole. "If you don't want to pay it back, just give me the interest." Nicole grumbled while taking out her phone to transfer the money. "You rotten-hearted scoundrel. All you care about is money, money, money. Unlike me, who values relationships." I glanced at her, then at Bob, who had been fawning over her from behind. "If you value emotional bonds, that's wonderful. Uncle Bob holds deep affection for you." In the blink of an eye, the final night of the competition arrived. Under the gaze of millions, Sarah, who belonged to the same company as Bella, emerged as a dark horse and claimed the championship, debuting as the center position. Many might find this outcome surprising, but I understand. This young girl's talent truly deserves such recognition. I've seen her practicing dance alone late at night. I've seen her bruised and crying after failing difficult moves, only to get back up and try again. I've seen her practicing with an 4 drip in her arm while running a 40-degree fever. To be fair, she works harder and is more talented than all the trainees under my management. Now, she stands at the center of the stage, holding her trophy under the spotlight, crying like a child. Through sobs, she expressed endless gratitude to me, saying it was all thanks to me that she reached this position today. On the eve of the competition, rumors had been swirling that I was using my capital to suppress trainees from other companies in order to promote my own artists. Many unscrupulous marketing accounts even asserted that the final center position would undoubtedly go to one of my trainees. However, reality dealt these people a harsh slap in the face. I did indeed use my capital, but it was spent on supporting Sarah. During that time, rumors circulated among the trainees that Sarah was considering withdrawing from the competition. For a girl who loved the stage so much, withdrawing must have been a last resort. Only after I sent someone to inquire did I learn that her father had fallen seriously ill and couldn't afford medical treatment. Without hesitation, I covered all her father's medical expenses, relieving her of any worries so she could focus on the competition. Dreams are precious, and children from ordinary families should be even braver in pursuing them. I hope you never give up easily. I'm here for you. I thought that after finishing the show's recording, I could stay away from all the drama and enjoy a good rest for a while, but fate had other plans. The secret recipe of the Brown family's flagship product was leaked. In the previous life, the Brown family never recovered from this incident and went completely bankrupt 6 months later. This news caused quite a stir at the time. My sister tearfully told me back then that it was all because of that bitch Bella. Seeing no hope of climbing the social ladder, she turned to the arms of the president of Shine Group. The secret recipe was what she extracted from Tucker Brown and leaked out. But in this life, Tucker Brown follows my every command and has long since cut ties with Bella. How could he still fall for her tricks? Tucker Brown stammered. She said if I didn't give her the secret recipe, she'd have someone kidnap you. I face-bombed. Guess why she didn't just kidnap me directly? Because she doesn't like the idea, I yelled furiously. I go out with 2 bodyguards every damn day. How the hell would she kidnap me? Do you even have a brain? And even if she did, so what? Am I worth more or is the recipe worth more? You're worth more. You're worth more than anything. Tucker Brown answered instantly. Besides, we have so many product lines at home. It's not like we depend on this one product to survive. I was so angry that my mind went blank, and I really wanted to tear his head open myself to see what kind of structure was inside. Seeing my expression grow increasingly grim, he whispered, "What should we do now?" Mom said to listen to you more. I let out a long sigh and looked out the window. "I'll show you a clear path. Why don't you jump out right now?" The situation became extremely awkward. But thankfully, my phone rang just in time. I had just pressed the answer button when I heard my mom's wailing voice. "Come back quickly. Something's happened to your sister." Nicole was crying so hard she could barely speak, and my mom kept hesitating, as if there was something she couldn't bring herself to say. It took me a while to finally understand what had actually happened. To put it simply, my sister was almost raped. And the one who tried to force himself on her was none other than my mom's new partner, Bob. I knew my sister was stupid, but I never imagined she could be this foolish. My mom was at a loss. "What do we do now? Your sister is like this, and your Uncle Bob has run off. How am I supposed to live the rest of my life?" Her wailing annoyed me, and I snapped impatiently. "What else can we do? First, call the police and have him arrested. We'll figure out the rest later." My mom's face changed drastically upon hearing this, and she hurriedly tried to stop me. "No, no, you can't call the police. If you do, your Uncle Bob will be finished for real. Besides, flies don't go after an uncracked egg." If she had been more careful, the man wouldn't have assaulted her. Still the same old mom I know. In my past life, when I told her about that old pervert's intentions toward me, she reacted the exact same way. From that moment, I understood that my mom was a complete romantic fool. She would rather believe her daughter was a misbehaving, low-class woman than admit that the man she fancied was an old pervert. Nicole wasn't crying now, but her expression looked even more desperate than before. While my mom stepped out to use the bathroom, she confronted me. "You knew he was like this all along, didn't you? Why didn't you tell me?" "Oh, of course. How could I not know? I was just smarter and more decisive than her." When I discovered Bob's true nature and realized my mom wouldn't stand by me, I fled that hellhole overnight and started living on my own. Almost all the money I had earned before was in my mom's hands, so life after leaving home was extremely tough for me. I also tried to seek help from my wealthy sister, but at the height of her success, she wouldn't even glance my way. "And now you dare to accuse me? How shameless." I glared at Nicole and said angrily. She was momentarily stunned by my words. I gave her a disdainful look. "So what if you've lived a second life? So what if you made a different choice? You can see it now, can't you? No matter what you choose, you're always the one who loses. Do you know why?" Nicole clenched her lower lip tightly, her expression turning ferocious, her eyes filled with hatred. I moved closer to her, touched her pretty face, and said with a smile, "Because you're stupid. You always pin your hopes on others. You've never thought of changing anything by yourself. Silly little sister, even if a fool and a waste were to live 100 lives, they'd just perform 100 different ways to die like fools. I'll kill you." Suddenly, she recklessly charged forward, grabbing my collar and trying to choke me. However, the moment she made her move, bodyguards burst through the door and pinned her to the ground, eliciting screams like a slaughtered pig. I crouched down to examine her closely, sighing in pity. "TSK, TSK, TSK. Did you really think you were still on the same level as me? The fact that I let you get this close was already a courtesy, and you actually tried to kill me." Pinned to the ground, she thrashed and writhed frantically, like a madwoman. "Oh, I can't say she's just acting like a madwoman. Her condition suggests she's genuinely gone mad." That very night, my mother called me in tears. "What do we do? Your sister went crazy and jumped into the river." She was lucky. Someone pulled her out just in time. But even before the jump, she was already acting deranged. The shock of the icy water only worsened her mental state. Now, she flies into a murderous rage at the sight of any man. My mother had no other choice but to pay out of her own pocket to send her to a mental hospital. "Are you sure you won't help? Your mom is really struggling," Tucker Brown asked cautiously, his eyes darting furtively in my direction. Like an old eunuch awaiting an imperial decree, I shot him a glare. Mind your own business. Her mindset matches the suffering she endures. You'd better worry about your own affairs. I heard the workers haven't been paid for over 2 months and are about to cause trouble. He patted his chest confidently. Don't worry about that. I've already got a solution. Just wait a couple days to see your man perform. I looked at him with skepticism, muttering to myself, can I really trust him? It must be said, when it comes to disappointment. Tucker Brown never lets me down. Within days, his actions answered my question loud and clear. Not one bit trustworthy. He called together employee representatives from the company and held what he called a mobilization meeting. Seeing his confident and self-satisfied demeanor, I thought he had genuinely come up with a good solution to overcome the crisis. Who would have guessed he actually proposed suspending workers' wages and then launched into a lengthy speech? I know everyone is also struggling, so I'm willing to lead by example. Starting today, I, Tucker Brown, will also stop receiving my salary, just like everyone else. I believe that as long as we all work together, we can definitely overcome this challenge. The stench of this capitalist bloodsucker made me sick to my stomach. How could the worker representatives below the stage listen to his nonsense? They were all shouting to beat him up, just as the situation was about to spiral out of control. A figure strode heroically onto the podium, raised a thin rod in hand, and swung it straight at Tucker Brown's back. The crowd below instantly fell silent. Tucker Brown froze for 2 seconds, turned to look back, his face filled with disbelief. The one who hit him was none other than his own mother, and the one who handed over the stick was none other than his own wife. This strike is on behalf of your co-workers. My mother-in-law held the stick in her hand, her expression stern. You're the son of a wealthy family. Of course you don't rely on a salary to get by. But have you ever thought about how these ordinary workers can support their families without wages? The anger on my mother-in-law's face gradually faded, replaced by frustration. I never let you suffer a single hardship, but I never imagined it would harm you like this, turning you into such a useless person. Tucker Brown rubbed his sore back. Looking aggrieved, my mother-in-law pushed him aside with disgust. Then turned to me with a smile and waved, signaling me to come on stage. Regarding the company's future, there's no need for everyone to worry. I hereby promise that salaries will be paid as usual for the next 2 months. If the company is unable to continue operations after 2 months, I will, in accordance with the law, pay everyone the corresponding compensation, but I believe we won't reach that point. Because my wonderful daughter-in-law has already prepared a comprehensive response plan for this crisis. As she spoke, she gently took my hand. Oh, wait, I should address you as former Chairman Zhang. I now officially announce that Tucker Brown is stepping down from the position of chairman. A familiar female voice rang out from behind the crowd. Don't celebrate too soon, Hannah. I've spent a fortune to secure connections with the James family. Your raw material supply chain is about to be cut off. Even with all your skills, you won't be able to revive this doomed game. Bella showed up uninvited, with vengeance achieved practically written on her face. Tucker Brown, you abandoned me, your old flame, the moment you got a wife. Don't blame me for being ruthless. Bet you never imagined your parents' hard-earned family business would be brought down by me alone. She walked through the crowd, surrounded by bodyguards, and stopped right in front of me with a defiant expression. Hannah, you stole what was rightfully mine. You're really asking for death. Tucker Brown shielded me behind him and began delivering his domineering CEO lines. If you're deliberately trying to provoke me, let me tell you, you've succeeded. Get out of here. I snapped impatiently, grabbing Tucker Brown by the collar and yanking him backward, throwing him behind me. I stepped forward to meet Bella's challenging gaze. Not backing down an inch in presence. You don't really think you've won, do you? In the previous life, the Shine Group secured victory by cutting off the Brown family's supply of raw materials. Coincidentally, in my past life, I worked as a live-in nanny for a while, and my employer William was actually the owner of the Brown family's raw material supplier. However, by then, the situation was already a done deal, and there was nothing I could do. This time was different. When I noticed events unfolding in the same direction again, I anticipated Bella's next move and took the initiative to contact William first. William divorced early and never remarried, raising his 5.5-year-old daughter Mia alone, spoiling her rotten. Mia had been an extremely picky eater since childhood, never eating properly. For this, William spent no small amount of money hiring specialists to help, but to little effect, until I came along. It took me just over half a year to cure the little girl of her picky eating habits. Once her eating normalized, Her temperament improved significantly, earning me William's deep gratitude. If in my past life I had Mia completely figured out, this time would naturally be no exception. The Brown family and the James family have been business partners for many years, leveraging this relationship. I invited the father and daughter to dinner and presented them with a chestnut cake I made myself, Mia's absolute favorite. The little girl indeed fell in love with it at first bite, devouring several pieces. William was utterly astonished and insisted on getting the recipe, saying he'd pay any amount for it. I didn't want his money, but I demanded his guarantee of a steady supply of ingredients. He agreed readily and went home satisfied with my recipe. My mother-in-law was skeptical. "Aren't you afraid he'll go back on his word?" "Don't worry, even if Bella tries to tempt him with benefits in the future, I'm confident he won't change his mind. That chestnut cake will only last Mia 10 days to half a month before she gets tired of it. When that happens, he'll have to come begging me again, and I have hundreds of recipes for foods Mia loves. Enough to keep him hooked for over a decade." After answering a phone call, Bella's face turned pale and then purple. Looking utterly dreadful, I sneered, "Why aren't you laughing now? Is it just not in your nature to laugh?" Seeing her speechless from my retort, I pressed my advantage. "It was William who called you, wasn't it? Did he tell you he wouldn't agree to your demands?" "Oh dear, he doesn't care for your dirty money." Furious, she lunged at me and started a physical altercation. Tucker Brown might be intellectually useless, but his reflexes were sharp enough. He grabbed Bella's arm and shoved her back hard. "A woman of Tucker Brown's. How dare you lay a hand on her?" At this moment, the domineering CEO's lines don't seem so nauseating after all. Bella was shoved off balance, signaling with her eyes for the bodyguards beside her to step in immediately. To be honest, I'm quite curious to see if a battle-damaged Tucker Brown would look more appealing, but reason tells me that if a real fight breaks out, it might not just be battle damage, it could get much worse, so I spoke up to stop them. "If you protect her now, and she ends up in court later, don't blame me for not warning you when you can't collect your pay." "What kind of nonsense are you talking about?" "Oh, you don't know yet. I've already submitted a report to the relevant authorities, accusing you of trade secret infringement and engaging in unfair business competition. The money you gave William has also been submitted as evidence." "What should we do? Someone might end up in jail." Bella couldn't handle the pressure and fainted right on the stage. Tucker Brown gave me a big thumbs up. "Honey, you're amazing. What would I do without you? Get lost. If it weren't for not wanting Mom's hard work to go to waste, I wouldn't bother cleaning up your mess." When I say the Brown family business was my mother-in-law's life's work, I'm not exaggerating at all. She told me about her struggles when she was young. Back then, my father-in-law was just a clueless young man who lost money in every business venture, becoming the laughingstock of the whole village. It wasn't until he married my mother-in-law that their fortunes began to turn around. Later, when the Brown family business was established, my mother-in-law was even busier, handling everything and worrying about every little detail. You have no idea how much those years wore me down. My health suffered. The doctor told me that if I kept pushing myself like that, I wouldn't be able to keep the baby in my womb. Recalling the past, my mother-in-law looked bitter, but even after all these years of working tirelessly for the company, I never got a formal position. That damn Tucker's father always said women couldn't be trusted with important responsibilities. Ugh, she sounded resentful, but then suddenly grew smug. No matter how much he schemed, he never expected to die so young. After he was gone, didn't his son and the company have to listen to me? Just thinking about it makes me feel better. My mother-in-law is usually an elegant lady, but I never expected her to have this attitude when talking about her late husband. I found it somewhat absurd, but mostly endearing. I smiled and said, "Luckily, Tucker isn't like his father. He's quite supportive of me taking over the company." "How dare he not support you?" My mother-in-law took my hand and said gently, "My dear, you must remember that we women are no less capable than those big men. There's no need for us to always stay behind the scenes supporting them." I understood her meaning and nodded with a smile. After much deliberation, I still called the police behind my mom's back, and Bob was sentenced to 6 years in prison. On the day of the arrest, my mom came to me in a rage, saying I had ruined her happiness for the rest of her life. I told her that wasn't true. Happiness was still possible. So I promptly sent her to the happy retirement home. Tucker Brown was sent to the grassroots for training. As my mother-in-law put it, he needed to experience all the hardships he had avoided over the past 30 years, so he wouldn't be so useless, to ensure he wouldn't receive any special treatment. My mother-in-law deliberately concealed his identity and sent him to the most remote factory under the company's subsidiary, at first. Tucker Brown cried and threw tantrums like a spoiled child refusing to go to school. This situation ended on the day he received his salary, a monthly wage of $1,500, but he carried himself with the pride of someone who'd earned $15 million. That day, he called me in sheer delight to boast about his fortune of $1,500. Did you know? This is the first time I've earned money through my own labor. For the first time, I feel that my existence has meaning, and that meaning is work. From then on, Tucker Brown became increasingly motivated. By carrying heavy loads at the factory, he repeatedly earned recognition as an advanced worker. I used to think I had ruined him by raising him wrong. Turns out, I just chose the wrong path. He's actually the physical labor type. My mother-in-law dropped this remark and, pulling her suitcase behind her, embarked on her vacation. As for me, I'm not so leisurely. Both the Brown family business and my entertainment company are thriving. I'm busy making money and counting it, overwhelmed with work. This bittersweet feeling is truly fascinating. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My daughter insisted on marrying a thrice-divorced scumbag with a history of domestic violence, and I tried desperately to dissuade her. But she said to me, just because your own marriage was unhappy, you want me to be unhappy too. The day after she stole the household register to marry that scumbag, I changed the name of the group's successor to my adopted daughter at the shareholders' meeting. Now I understand. Blood doesn't matter. What matters is who inherits my mind. I started my own business when I was young. My husband found me too domineering and ran off abroad with a gentler woman, leaving me alone. Right hand handling company financial documents, left hand feeding my daughter Shinshin. Shinshin never knew hardship. By the time she could form memories, I was already a top-ranked female entrepreneur on the wealth lists, and Shinshin had become the much-admired heiress of a wealthy family. She attended the best private elite school and always ranked at the top of her class, until the end of the semester when I was called to the school and found out that her grades were achieved by threatening and bribing impoverished students who dared not resist her into taking exams for her. After the college entrance exams, she went abroad to study with the exorbitant sponsorship fee I donated to the school. Every month, she wrote letters crying about not having enough living expenses, only for me to later discover she had spent all the money on chasing celebrities and buying rankings for them. I always thought she was still young and would naturally mature as she grew older. Little did I expect that her version of maturity would bring home such a thing. Mom, this is James. While I was in a meeting with the company's shareholders, Shinshin barged in holding a man's hand and sweetly announced in front of everyone, I've already discussed it with him. He'll start as the marketing director. All the shareholders fell silent, glancing at me as if watching a spectacle. I could feel my face rapidly turning red and burning. Shinshin, I suppressed my anger. We're in the middle of a very important meeting. Could you please take James outside for now? Oh, Mom, Shinshin ran over, tugging at my sleeve. Isn't this our family's company? James isn't an outsider. My hand gripping the documents was stiff and cold. I felt like I'd never been so humiliated in my life. Deputy Director Wang from HR gave me a way out, gesturing for the other shareholders to leave the conference room first. All right, let's all take some time to digest what President Su just said. We'll reconvene the meeting at 3 p.m. this afternoon. Unexpectedly, Shinshin was displeased. Uncle Wang, what are you doing? I was about to announce James's position. Why are you making everyone leave? Deputy General Manager Wang was both annoyed and amused. Miss Su, company personnel appointments follow strict procedures. You can't just announce them whenever you feel like it. Why not? Shinshin got angry. I'm my mother's only daughter. If this company isn't going to be mine in the future, then whose will it be? I gave you all your jobs, and I want James to be the marketing director now. Deputy General Manager Wang looked at me with difficulty, while I remained expressionless and said quietly, Lao Wang, you've worked hard. Take your colleagues and leave first. Deputy Manager Wang nodded, but Shinshin looked at me unhappily. Mom, then she turned to stop those who were leaving. Hey, don't go. Did you hear me? Su Shinshin, I scolded. Only then did Su Shinshin shut her mouth. But she was clearly unhappy, looking at me with aggrieved and angry eyes. Mom, you're the one who told me I need to learn how to manage the company. Is this how you run a company? The door closed, leaving only the three of us in the vast conference room. I could no longer suppress my anger. pointing at James as I asked Su Xinshin, do you know the responsibilities a market director carries? What qualifications does he have to sit in that position? Su Xinshin pouted, James is super talented. You're all biased against him. I eyed James coldly. He had a charming face that women adored. No less attractive than the idol stars young people crazily pursued these days, but from the moment he entered, he had been standing carelessly in the back, letting his woman fight the battles up front. My instincts told me this man was utterly unreliable. I said coldly, whether this company will be yours in the future or not, at least for now, I have the final say. That man is not allowed to work in my company, Mom. I slammed the door and left, calling security. Escort those two people out of the meeting room and make sure they never set foot in this company again. When I got home, my adopted daughter Xiaoya was cooking in the kitchen. Aunt Su, you're back. Xiaoya turned her head and smiled at me. I made black chicken soup with red dates. You should try it later. It's good for replenishing qi and blood. I sat down on the sofa wearily and forced a smile. You should focus on your homework. Leave the cooking to me. Xiaoya brought the soup over. Don't worry, I finished my homework long ago. Aunt Su, why do you look so pale? I vigorously rubbed my face. Xinshin refused to contact me again after being escorted out by the security guard. For many years, I've been reflecting, was it my fault in raising her that resulted in such a daughter? But Xiaoya, whom I raised with the same methods, is the daughter of my driver, after her parents died in a car accident. None of her relatives wanted her, so I took her in and raised her myself. Years have passed in the blink of an eye, and the little bean sprout from back then has grown into a young woman, about to graduate from high school. Her college aspiration is Tsinghua SEM, and according to her teacher, given Xiaoya's grades, she stands a good chance of getting in. Quite a few boys have written love letters to Xiaoya, all of which she keeps in a tin box by her desk, planning to read them after the college entrance exams. Auntie Su is fine, you should go back to studying. Don't forget to drink the soup. I had just finished the soup Xiaoya made for me and felt my mood calming down a bit when Xinshin's call came through. She refused to come home and arranged to meet me at a cafe near our place. As soon as I sat down, she asked me for $800,000. Mom, since you don't agree with James working at the company, let's compromise and let him start his own business. This 800,000 is the seed money. I patiently listened to Su Xinshin recount this obviously scam-like startup plan, a bitter taste rising in my throat. I won't give it, Mom. How could you do this to me? Xinshin was furious, her voice so loud that everyone in the cafe turned to look our way. I promised James he'd be the marketing director when we returned to China, and now you've made me lose face right from the start. Now I've already compromised. Just 800,000, is that really so much? A few handbags cost that much. Can't you even agree to this small amount? I looked at her with sorrow. My daughter, who grew up in luxury, never lacked for material comforts. My heart ached that she had no father, and I tried my best to compensate her materially. And now, today, she had the audacity to tell me that 800,000 was just a small sum. I took a deep breath, mustering all my patience to keep my tone gentle. Xinshin, you've never earned money before, you don't understand. 800,000 is a huge sum of money. Many entrepreneurs live on instant noodles in basements just to save that amount. Xinshin raised her eyebrows, utterly confused. So what? What does that have to do with me? Mom, I'm marrying James. He's your son-in-law, not some stranger. I pulled out 2 documents and placed them in front of her. Xinshin, I had someone investigate. James has been married twice. When he met you, he wasn't even divorced from his ex-wife yet. He has a violent streak. He and his ex-wife ended up in jail because of domestic violence. What on earth do you see in a man like this? Who's no good in every way. I thought Xinshin would snap out of it after seeing these documents, but she pushed them aside and looked at me with tears in her eyes. Mom, I understand now. James was right. A woman like you, trapped in an unhappy marriage, can't stand to see others happy. You want everyone to live in the same loveless hell as you. The next day, my daughter, in her pursuit of true love, stole her household registration booklet and went to register her marriage with James. I arrived at the office with massive dark circles under my eyes and called for Deputy Manager Wang. Didn't I tell you before that once Su Xinshin returns, you'd start training her in the business? Deputy Manager Wang, a seasoned veteran in the business world, wore an expression of utter agony, as if the task were the greatest torment on earth. Not daring to let me see his face, he quickly lowered his head. Understood. I'm already prepared. No need. I interrupted him coolly. Xiaoya's college entrance exams will be over next week. You'll be responsible for training Xiaoya instead. Deputy Manager Wang abruptly raised his head. The usually unflappable old fox couldn't suppress the joy on his face this time. He rushed over to massage my shoulders and pat my legs. My dear Manager Su, you've finally come to your senses. The news spread quickly. On Friday evening, while Xiaoya and I were having dinner at the restaurant, Su Xinxin suddenly rushed in like a gust of wind. She yanked Xiaoya up from her seat and slapped her right across the face. The restaurant was full of diners, and for a moment, everyone put down their chopsticks and turned to look in our direction. You little green tea bitch, I knew you were no good from the start. Su Xinxin spat loudly. You've had your eyes on our family's wealth since the day you stepped into our home. Now you think you've gotten your way. Xiaoya covered her face, struggling to hold back her tears. Sister, I didn't. Oh my god, listen to this classic green tea talk. Su Xinxin sneered, curling her lips. You think you can sweet-talk my mom with this act and push me out? Keep dreaming. As Su Xinxin raised her hand to deliver another slap, I rushed forward and grabbed her wrist. Mom, I fiercely backhanded Su Xinxin across the face, sending her kneeling to the ground. She looked up at me, her eyes flashing with disbelief. My face was icy and indifferent. I never understood you young people's slang before. But today I finally get it. Being obedient, diligent, and not causing trouble for others is called being a green tea now. Being polite, cultured, and having good manners is called being a green tea now. Knowing how to care for others and being willing to give is called being a green tea now. Xinxin, if this is what being a green tea means, I wish you could be a green tea for the rest of your life. Su Xinxin stared at me blankly. I've given you chances, too many times. I said softly, it's you who wasted them all. I won't attend your wedding, nor will I provide any dowry. Su Xinxin looked at me, then after a long pause, she stood up and said coldly, in that case, let's sever our mother-daughter relationship. I was silent for a long moment, then laughed. How familiar these words sound. Xinxin, how many times have you threatened me with this since you were little? Every time I refused to buy you something or send you money, you'd say you wanted to cut ties with me. Child, you don't understand. Locking yourself in your room and refusing to eat only works on parents who love you. The restaurant was crowded with many people gathered around, pointing and whispering, facing the onlookers' gazes. I calmly said, Su Xinxin, you were the one who said you wanted to sever our mother-daughter relationship, so I respect your decision. I also hope you'll remember your own words and not regret it later. Xiaoya and I had just arrived home when Deputy Manager Wang showed up right after us. I told Xiaoya to go back to her room to rest and asked Deputy Manager Wang to sit on the sofa. Take your time and tell me what's going on. Old Wang wiped the sweat from his face. President Su, the video of you hitting Su Xinxin in the restaurant has gone viral online. He opened his phone to show me. Not only was there the video of me hitting Su Xinxin in the restaurant, but also the footage of our confrontation at the cafe that time. Tell me, how is it such a coincidence that both incidents were recorded by people with nothing better to do? I wasn't too surprised. That's normal in the internet age. Old Wang took out his notebook and pulled up some files to show me. Regarding this James, I did a thorough background check on him. This guy is a seasoned con artist. He used to meet girls through social media abroad, specifically targeting those from wealthy families with little dating experience. He associates with a group of fellow scammers who help each other put on performances, even staging fake hero rescues, like having a few guys pretend to mug a girl, then the hero dramatically appears to fight them off, getting injured while protecting the girl in the process. In short, he'll act out every trick in the romance novel playbook to reel you in without fail. After dating a girl for a few months, he'd suddenly vanish. Then his friends would show up, claiming his family business had gone bankrupt, that villains were hot on his trail, and that he urgently needed funds to stay afloat, or else those villains would harm him. There were too many of them, and their act was convincing. The girls always ended up buying the story, doing everything they could to raise money for their prince in distress. Once, the scheme nearly blew up. It even got a girl killed. But whether it was lack of evidence or something else, the whole thing was swept under the rug in the end. Vice President Wang looked at me with concern. President Su, Xinxin may have been a bit spoiled and indeed not very sensible, but now it seems this man is even more dangerous. She's likely to suffer greatly. I remained expressionless. You saw it too. Did I not try to persuade or scold her? There's simply no stopping her. If she suffers, it's her own choice, President Su. Vice President Wang continued trying to persuade me. I checked Xinxin's grades. They were indeed poor before, but she's been improving since last year, probably had top students take the exams for her. It's not like she hasn't done that before. It doesn't seem like it. If it were a top student taking the exam for her, her grades should have skyrocketed, but her improvement has been quite slow, just barely getting out of the bottom ranks and starting to pass her courses. She must be studying on her own. I glanced at him and said, Old Wang, you've always disliked Su Xinxin the most. Why are you suddenly speaking up for her now? Old Wang was about to say something more, but I waved my hand and dismissed him. I know my own daughter. Old Wang, it's getting late, and I'd like to rest. After Old Wang left, Xiaoya came out of her room and sat down beside me. I gently touched her face. It's fair and smooth, with no signs of swelling or redness. Xiaoya knows what I'm thinking and smiles reassuringly. Don't worry, sis didn't hit her hard. Xiaoya and I arrive at Su Xinxin's room together. Auntie Su, she says, I've been thinking, since you and sis talked about cutting ties today, shouldn't all her belongings be packed up for her too? I pat Xiaoya's head, feeling pleased. Good girl, you're always so thoughtful. We should indeed handle every detail properly. On Su Xinxin's desk sat a photo frame, capturing her at elementary school graduation, her high ponytail swaying as she beamed brightly. One hand flashed a peace sign while the other wrapped around a girl, short-haired, bespectacled, wearing a shy smile. I stared at the photo in silence for a moment before picking up the frame, pack and mail all the other photos to her, except this one. A week later, I learned James and Su Xinxin hadn't registered their marriage. Not only did they not get the marriage certificate, but he also threw a huge tantrum at Su Xinxin. When I left the company, Su Xinxin was kneeling at the entrance, crying, with many passers-by gathered around her, pointing and whispering. As soon as I stepped out of the company, Su Xinxin scrambled on her knees to reach me, clinging to my leg. Mom, please, I beg you, give me some money. We've already severed our mother-daughter relationship. I don't seem to have any obligation to pay for your expenses, do I? My expression couldn't have been colder. Xiaoya, who had been following behind, now stood by my side. Today was the day I was introducing her to the company's board members. She had dressed up specially, wearing a Prada blazer, her delicate face lightly made up, looking both refined and beautiful. The moment Su Xinxin saw Xiaoya, her eyes turned red with anger. She rushed forward like a madwoman, grabbing Xiaoya's hair and wrestling with her. It's you stole everything that belonged to me. Xiaoya initially tried to retreat, but soon grew furious as well, seizing Su Xinxin by the collar and shoving her away violently. Are you not embarrassed enough? Xiaoya shouted at Su Xinxin. For a man, you've reduced yourself to this state. You've truly humiliated us all. The onlookers gathered nearby had been whispering among themselves, and upon hearing this, they immediately began exchanging comments. Earlier, the video of Su Xinxin and me having a loud argument in a cafe and restaurant had already gone viral online. Now, the eldest daughter of the Su family was kneeling at the entrance of the company headquarters for love. Such rare news material naturally wouldn't be overlooked. Among the onlookers, there were already cameras set up, long guns and short cannons. The long guns were telephoto lenses, while the short cannons were smartphones, showing that not only journalists but also many self-media bloggers had rushed to the scene. I could already imagine how lively the internet would be today. Sure enough, by the time Xiaoya and I got home, Weibo and Douyin were already buzzing. The video of Su Xinxin kneeling had been widely shared. Shocking. The CEO's daughter kneels for love. Who is the mysterious man? Anonymous information was immediately revealed below. I'm an internal employee of this company. That day, the female lead brought her boyfriend to our company, and I secretly took a photo. Attached is a photo of James being brought by Su Xinxin to the shareholders meeting that day. The photo was taken very clearly, showing his full face. Wait a minute, why do I remember seeing this guy in some international social news? I saw it too. Wasn't it a pig butchering scam? Yeah. So the Su family's eldest daughter caused a rift with her family over a pig butchering scammer. I put down my phone, took a deep breath, and lay down on the sofa. Beside me, Xiaoya was quietly holding that elementary school graduation photo of Su Xinxin, staring at it. Auntie Su, I remember now. I've seen this sister before. She pointed at the shy, short-haired girl standing next to Su Xinxin. Back then, I had just arrived at your home. She came over to do her homework, and I accidentally broke her pen. She didn't get mad at me and even folded a paper airplane for me to play with using her composition paper. Xiaoya silently touched the photo. She was a very, very gentle sister. What was her name again? Li Hui, I said softly. Xiaoya nodded and put down the photo. Just then, the door rang. It was Vice President Wang. President Su, there are urgent documents requiring your signature. Please take a look. As I was signing, Xiaoya sat beside me. Her phone dinged with a notification. A voice recording had been sent to her email. She listened briefly, then her expression turned serious. Auntie Su, you need to hear this. This recording captures the conversation between James and Su Xinxin. James, are you out of your mind? Why did you have to cause a scene at your mom's company? Now the whole world is investigating me. And all those news reports have been dug up again. Su Xinxin. I'm sorry, baby, I didn't expect this to happen, but you don't need to be afraid. After all, those news stories are fake, and I believe you're innocent. James, after a moment of silence, I know, but you don't understand. I have some enemies back home. They didn't know I had returned to the country, but now, with netizens digging up everything, they'll come after me soon enough. Su Xinxin, then what should we do? Should we hurry and go abroad? James, furious, you make it sound so easy. Going abroad requires money, haven't I told you? My account has been frozen, and without new funds coming in, it can't be unfrozen. It was you who said we could get money from your mom that I came back with you, and now, you've ruined everything. Su Xinxin, sobbing, don't be afraid, I know a way to get a lot of money. Su Xinxin's voice was very low, and this part of the recording was unclear. A moment later, James's exclamation came through, are you crazy, before his words faded. Loud banging sounds came from outside the door, accompanied by a rough male voice. James, James, I know you're in there, stop hiding. Then came sounds of panic and footsteps, before the recording abruptly cut off. Deputy Manager Wang, who was listening nearby, curiously asked Xiaoya. How did you get this recording? Xiaoya hesitated for a moment before answering Deputy Manager Wang. When Su Xinxin came to make trouble today and fought with me, I planted a listening device on her clothes. Anyone else might have been fooled by Xiaoya's explanation, but Deputy Manager Wang, a seasoned veteran in the field, instinctively sensed that Xiaoya seemed a bit nervous. Something's not right. Deputy Manager Wang scrutinized Xiaoya, then looked at me. Why do I feel like there's something fishy about this whole thing? And also, who was that man knocking on the door in the recording just now? It must be debt collectors. Didn't James say he has quite a few enemies back home? Old Wang narrowed his eyes and shook his head. Really? But why does that voice sound so much like Xiao Kai from our company's security department? Xiaoya turned pale and looked at me. I smiled. Forget it, Xiaoya, just tell him the truth. Uncle Wang isn't an outsider. Half a month later, an urgent call came through to my phone. On the other end was Su Xinxin's icy voice. Mom, if you still want that little green tea bitch alive, bring 20 million in cash here. My voice was nearly cracking with panic. Su Xinxin, what are you doing? Xiaoya is only 18. The call abruptly ended. I immediately had someone investigate, and soon, the news came back. Xiaoya had just gotten her driver's license and hired a coach to accompany her for road practice. The GPS tracker installed on Xiaoya's phone showed that her car deviated from the planned route half an hour later, heading straight for the suburbs. All the identity information this coach left at the driving school was fake. It's easy to imagine that he was one of the actors, under James's command. James shouldn't have taken such a reckless risk, but there was no other choice. Lately, people had been coming after him one after another. James had always been a con artist, swindling money and seducing women, to maintain his image as a wealthy, handsome playboy. He once borrowed heavily to rent luxury homes and cars. When things got too hot for him domestically, he fled abroad. This time, he was willing to follow Su Xinxin back to China, undoubtedly because he saw it as a free meal falling from the sky. Su Xinxin was the only child in her family, so there wouldn't be any sibling rivalry over inheritance like in other wealthy households. He could smoothly take everything, and on top of that, she was foolish enough to be easily manipulated. Little did I expect that everything after returning home would be far from smooth, and it seemed like trouble was brewing. James must have been afraid that if he didn't leave soon, he wouldn't be able to, which is why he wanted to squeeze out some money quickly and flee far away. Following Su Xinxin's instructions, I drove alone to the outskirts. Inside an old, abandoned warehouse, I saw a group of men and women. They were all James's accomplices. In every one of James's scams, some were his business partners, some his housekeeper and bodyguard, and others the ex-girlfriends who hurt him deeply. They helped James perfect his persona, making a fortune in the process, while the deceived girls either dared not speak out, fearing they would be labeled as gullible gold diggers, or had already passed away, ending their lives in heartbreak and despair. Su Xinshin stood beside James, while a tall, burly man wearing a hood held Xiaoya at knife point. Xiaoya burst into tears the moment she saw me, too afraid to cry out, only whimpering softly. I set down the suitcase. I brought the money. I'm taking her with me. James glanced at the suitcase. 2 million. Can that fit in such a small case? I replied coldly. Do you even know what 2 million in cash looks like? How could I possibly gather that much in such a short time? The woman beside James had voluminous wavy hair and wore bold lipstick. I'd seen the news. In James's performances, she always played the role of the ex-girlfriend who scammed him and kept coming back to blackmail him, all to convince the girls that James had suffered deep emotional wounds. At this moment, the woman with wavy hair flipped her hair and frowned, saying, "Bro, this isn't what you promised." Several tall men nearby also looked displeased and muttered a warning. There are a lot of us here, so many people risking their lives, and I only brought a few 100,000, nowhere near enough to split among them. James frowned, roughly grabbing Su Xinshin by the hair. What's going on? You told me your mom could scrape together 20 million in cash. I can, Su Xinshin said in extreme pain, crying. My mom has money. She definitely has money. James was running out of patience. He raised his hand to hit Su Xinshin, who wailed, "Don't hit me, let me talk to my mom." Su Xinshin knelt down crying and crawled toward me. Mom, you do have 20 million, right? Are you really unwilling to spend that money for Xiaoya? Am I still your only daughter in your heart? I stepped back in disgust. Don't come near me. I don't acknowledge you as my daughter. Su Xinshin continued to crawl toward me, crying, "No, Mom, please, I beg you. Please let us be together." I stepped back, while Su Xinshin moved forward. By the time James realized something was wrong, we were already dozens of meters away from them. At that very moment, the sound of police sirens blared, and officers outside shouted, "Freeze!" James instinctively looked to the side. The police had arrived, but he still had a hostage, someone who could buy him time. He turned around and froze in place, while Su Xinshin's loud wails drew everyone's attention. The tall, burly man had somehow already retreated to the side with Xiaoya. The woman with big wavy hair closest to him tried to lunge forward to stop them but was kicked away by the man. The man removed his hood and, shielding Xiaoya, ran toward us. President Su. I nodded at him. This tall, burly boy was the driving school instructor Su Xinshin had sent to abduct Xiaoya, but he had another identity. He was Vice President Wang's nephew. James was stunned. When the police grabbed him, he looked up at us, his eyes filled with confusion. Su Xinshin. Su Xinshin stood where she was, trembling as if she had just finished a long marathon. Xiaoya walked over to her and took her hand, trying to offer some warmth. I also went to her side and wrapped an arm around her shoulder. Don't be afraid. Mom is here with you, I whispered. Mom is proud of you. James widened his eyes, staring at the three of us, mother and daughters, with the most incredulous look. Su Xinshin, at this point, he finally had to realize, you've been deceiving me all along. Su Xinshin lowered her gaze to James. Those eyes, which had always been filled with infatuation for him, were now icy cold. Why? James struggled desperately, the two officers barely able to restrain him. I watched him coldly. This arrogant man, this charmer who had wreaked havoc in the world, undoubtedly suffering his first defeat at the hands of a woman. Su Xinshin showed no fear. She looked at James and said softly, "Do you remember Li Hui?" James froze. After a long while, he remembered that name. I watched as his handsome face gradually turned pale, losing all its color. He knew the truth now. Perhaps we should start from the beginning. My daughter Su Xinshin was indeed a spoiled and unruly young lady for the first 20-some years of her life. She squandered my money recklessly, and her classmates feared her yet dared not offend her, silently making detours whenever they saw her. As a result, she never truly had any genuine friends growing up, except for one person, Li Hui. Li Hui has been Su Xinshin's classmate since elementary school. When no one else wanted to sit next to Su Xinshin, she took the seat beside her, walked home with her after school, and even did homework together. When she came to my house to play, I asked her. Why are you willing to play with Xin? She replied, everyone says Su Xin is bad. But I don't think she's as bad as they make her out to be. Besides, even bad kids deserve a chance to become better. Li Hui said she wanted to be the kind of good friend who could make bad kids turn their lives around. Just like that, they drifted through middle school and high school. But Su Xin never did change for the better. One thing was certain, though, Li Hui remained Su Xin's only friend. When Li Hui received a scholarship for an exchange program and prepared to study abroad, Su Xin pestered me for sponsorship and followed her overseas. However, since they attended different schools, they each developed their own social circles. As final exams approached, Su Xin, who wasn't studying herself, knew Li Hui needed to focus, so she stopped reaching out to her much. This became the thing Su Xin regretted the most. On a late night after overtime work, I received Su Xin's overseas call. She remained silent for a very long time before letting out suppressed sobs. Mom, she cried, Li Hui is gone. Li Hui was the girl whom James had driven to jump off the building. James presented himself as a tall, rich, and handsome man to approach Li Hui, but Li Hui wasn't actually after his wealth. If she were truly a money-minded girl, she could have squeezed a lot of money from Su Xin over the past decade, but she never did. She was just too naive. Spending the first dozen years of her life diligently studying and taking exams, with no one teaching her anything else, so when James took her out to eat, gave her gifts, drove her to the countryside in a convertible to look at the stars, and told her under the night sky that he wanted to be with her forever, this foolish girl thought it was true love. So later, when James told her he was bankrupt, Li Hui maxed out all her credit cards and borrowed every penny she could. Su Xin also lent her a lot at the time, but gradually sensed something was wrong and pressed her to reveal what the money was for. Li Hui refused to say. Since Li Hui wouldn't talk, Su Xin refused to lend her any more. She wanted to talk to Li Hui, but Li Hui wouldn't answer her calls. Later, Su Xin found out that Li Hui had taken out a campus loan. The interest kept piling up, more and more. She gradually stopped going to school because the debt collectors would block her at the campus. And because she couldn't afford rent, she slept in the hallway. Amidst the harassment of rats and cockroaches, she still couldn't stop worrying about whether the boy she loved was out of danger, until one day, Li Hui, starving to the point of desperation, rummaged through a trash bin outside a high-end restaurant for food, only to see James walking out arm in arm with another girl. The money she had borrowed at the cost of her dignity was meant to rescue the one she loved from the mire. But in reality, he used it to buy tailored suits, diamonds, and champagne, to deceive the next girl. Li Hui didn't tell anyone about this. She simply wrote it all down in her diary in silence, and on a night that seemed endlessly dark, she went to the top floor of an abandoned building and jumped. While Su Xin was sorting through Li Hui's belongings, she discovered the diary Li Hui had left behind. When Li Hui was alive, Su Xin had always been rebellious. She felt that with the prime of her youth ahead, she could afford to be willful for a few more years. When Li Hui was little, she said, Su Xin will grow up to be a good kid, but while she was alive, Su Xin never improved. After Li Hui left, Su Xin stopped going out to have fun. She began attending classes diligently, taking careful notes, and participating in every major and minor exam. Her grades improved gradually. Late at night, she would dream of Li Hui, who would smile at her and say, Su Xin, I told you, you can be a good kid. Li Hui used her death to turn Su Xin into a good child. Su Xin called me. She wasn't crying anymore. I listened to my daughter, who used to be the most responsibility-shirking and self-centered person, now speaking with firmness and calm in her voice. Mom, can you help me one last time? This can't just be left like this. Su Xin had all the plans laid out, every step. From luring James back to the country to finally bringing him to justice, the public opinion campaign must be amplified, ensuring James's actions create an uproar online. Even if he manages to escape again, the social death will continue to torment him. That's why, from bringing James to the shareholders' meeting, to demanding money from me at the cafe, to the brawl with Xiaoya at the restaurant, and finally kneeling at the company in trance, each incident was, coincidentally, captured and spread online, causing quite a stir. And for the final kidnapping of Xiaoya, she could use the pretext of needing a large number of people to gather all of James's accomplices at once, allowing the police to capture them in one sweep. This plan is dangerous. James's background is already quite shady to begin with. If he becomes suspicious of Su Xinxin, she would be in grave danger. That's why she was equipped with recording and tracking devices, making it easy to stay in contact with us at all times. The recording Xiaoya received wasn't from any eavesdropping device she installed. It was automatically synced from Xinxin's equipment. To make all this work, Su Xinxin carefully crafted her persona, a hopelessly infatuated, love-struck fool utterly devoted to James. She succeeded, partly because Xinxin's performance was flawless, and partly because James was too overconfident. He was too confident in his ability to manipulate women, and such overconfidence ultimately became the dagger that stabbed him in the back. When James was taken away by the police, he still hadn't fully accepted reality. Struggling, he asked Su Xinxin, "Did you never love me at all?" Su Xinxin responded with the coldest gaze, "Get lost, you piece of trash." I drove the car, taking Su Xinxin and Xiaoya to the outskirts together. Li Hui's ashes had already been sent back to the country and buried here. Su Xinxin placed a bouquet of flowers in front of Li Hui's grave. In the photo, Li Hui's smile was gentle and warm, just as we remembered her. On the way back, Xinxin and Xiaoya sat together in the back seat, and Xinxin gave Xiaoya's hand a firm squeeze. "Thank you so much for this." Xiaoya smiled and squeezed Xinxin's hand in return. "No need to thank me, we're sisters." I drove forward, the sunlight streaming through the car windows, filling the entire journey with warmth. Su Xinxin was honored as an honorary citizen for her contributions in assisting the police to combat fraud, and all she had done was finally made public, becoming a legend on the internet. Xiaoya helped me manage the company. She once suggested that her sister come over to learn the business together, but Su Xinxin declined. She set off back to school again, saying she had to graduate first before anything else. Studying isn't something you can just pick up and excel at. Su Xinxin struggled and extended her graduation by 2 years, barely passing in the 3rd year to earn all the required credits and finally attending the graduation ceremony. On graduation day, she posted 2 photos on social media. One was a scanned copy of the photo from our family frame, showing elementary school graduate Su Xinxin hugging Li Hui with a bright smile. The other was taken by Xinxin on graduation day, wearing a graduation cap while holding another one in her hand. From elementary school to university, together, we've graduated. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.